November the 5th, 2017. Guys, you've all heard of the tragedy in Texas, the church shooting today. There's 27 people so far have died and about that many wounded. They say that the killer has been shot. They won't name him. He was dressed, according to eyewitnesses, full battle gear. And I think he ran out into a field or something, and I guess he either shot himself or the police killed him. That's kind of the story. The FBI were immediately on the scene. And it's tragic. A 2-year-old was shot. The pastor's 14-year-old daughter was killed. The 2-year-old died. And the pastor was out of town up in Oklahoma. And but his daughter had come to his church. She wasn't traveling. And lost her life there. It's sickening enough, but immediately the Democrats and Hollywood attacked the Republicans and blaming it on the Republicans and the NRA and calling for gun control. Well, I've about had it with that, and I talked about in the video this morning to where we're talking about Mueller being in trouble and things like that, guys, and part of the title was Eyes on the Swamp, and we need to focus on getting certain people out of there. Paul Ryan, for example, Mitch McConnell, for example. But that's on the Republican side. But guys, Republican or Democrat, you need to pay close attention to this video. And I've been sitting on this for a couple weeks, not knowing exactly how to deal with it. One thing, I didn't want the pharmacist to lose his life. But a D.C. pharmacist provides Alzheimer's drugs for members of Congress, he says. It's in several articles. This is from the Metro. But he didn't name any names, and that kept him from being in trouble legally. He said they're making the highest laws of the land, and they might not even remember what happened yesterday. Now, this is a medical professional. And another reason I'm doing this is because Pelosi and Mad Max and a few others are now screaming as loud as they can, impeach our president. But a pharmacist in Washington, D.C. claims that he fills prescription for drugs that treats Alzheimer's disease for members of Congress. A writer for the Boston Globe subsidiary spent time shadowing Mike Kim. And there's pictures of him in the other articles. I really don't want to show it. The owner of Grubb's Pharmacy, founded in 1867, it sends up to 100 prescriptions to Capitol Hill a day. Now, they're not all Alzheimer's prescriptions for anything, but for about $611 a year, I think they get a pretty good medical coverage as far as compared to what we get. We can't even go to a doctor's visit for that. And the pharmacist Mike Kim goes on to say, at first it's cool, and then you realize I'm filling some drugs that are for some pretty serious health problems as well. And these are the people that are running the country. Kim citing treatments for the diabetes and Alzheimer's. Now, I know most of you already know who's taking these drugs, but it makes you kind of sit back and say, wow, they're making the highest laws of the land again, and they might not even remember what happened yesterday. Carloads of pharmaceuticals from Grubb's have been brought to the Capitol nearly every day for almost 20 years. That allows members of Congress to skip lines at the pharmacy. They can simply walk downstairs to the little-known office of the attending physician to pick up their prescriptions. He goes on to say the Capitol kind of takes somewhat of a precedence just because of who we're servicing. The members might be calling to say, hey, I'm about to leave in 5 minutes, where's my drug? So the Capitol clinicians get into a panic mode as well. I wouldn't say they've ever gotten frustrated with us, but it's more of a concern like, oh my gosh, the member just called us, we need to get know where the drug is. The office of the attending physician, which is staffed with doctors and nurses, has run into controversy. In 2016, members of Congress paid $611 a year for membership, which is out of step with the overall rise in health care costs. Guys, that is one office visit now. Kim says that Grubb's Pharmacy bills insurance companies and does not provide discounts on prescriptions. Of course not. Vox notes that the current Congress is among the oldest in history. Over half of the senators running for re-election will be over 65 by 2018. The average age in the House is 57, and the average age in the Senate is 61. Kim's disclosure did not violate any patient privacy laws because he didn't reveal medical information that would identify a specific patient. Now, guys, they protect themselves in there. It's really hard to get rid of someone like this. and they're so greedy and sick in the head that they won't resign. But guys, that's why this Eyes on the Swamp 2018, we're going to kick this thing into gear, in high gear. Because even if they won't kick themselves out or each other out because they're this sick, then we're going to look into it, and it's going to be very easy to tell. But we're going to look into it and make sure they don't get reelected. Do you really want someone, guys, I don't care if you're Democrat in California or where you're at, do you really want someone like Pelosi and Mad Max calling the shots for your state? I want you to watch this newer video, and it's just one of many of Nancy Pelosi. You're going to understand exactly what I'm saying. And thank God for people stepping up like this pharmacist and bringing this information forward. Check this out, guys.
What an eventful morning it has been. Really one that marks a transformative moment when President Bush left office. The deficit was at $1.4 trillion. $1.4 trillion. So you're talking about an enormous amount of money, that the national debt had increased by an enormous amount. The debt was $1.4 billion in terms of the deficit. As I said the other day, and we saw the pie chart. This is about the American people and how policy here affects them. Instead, let's go to the table.
To see its failure at this point?
Well, yes, because we're here for the American people, education being essential. Education, by the way, being any money spent on education. Nothing brings more money to the Treasury than investing in education. Mental health agency that is there to address these needs. Declaring an emergency means he can have access to declaring an emergency. The House and Senate, Democrats, Republicans, and the White House, as to when that will happen. It has to happen soon. It has to happen soon so that we can have it done by the end of the continuing resolution, which is what, the first or second week in December. The end of the continuing resolution.